To establish absolute truth, we must identify the criteria for perfect knowledge, what the philosopher René Descartes called scientia. Descartes operated under a framework of epistemic internalism. This dictates that factors justifying our knowledge must exist as ideas accessible to conscious awareness. If justification requires an assumption about the outside world, it fails the test. Classical empiricism builds truth on the outside world, relying on physical, sensory properties. It identifies an object by shape, by its texture, and by its smell. Descartes exposes the fragility of this method through a piece of beeswax. If we catalog its exact physical properties and then apply a heated iron plate, every single sensory data point is destroyed. The solid shape collapses into liquid, the texture is eradicated, and the scent evaporates. Yet we still recognize the puddle of liquid as the same wax. Because the physical properties vanished, the core identity of the object cannot be derived from the external senses. It is grasped by the pure intellect. Empirical observation grants us cognitia, a mere shifting awareness of our immediate surroundings. It fails to provide the unshakable conviction required to achieve the absolute permanence of scientia. To find an intellectual foundation that survives scrutiny, Descartes deployed methodic doubt. This acts as an engineering tool for epistemology, an aggressive mechanism designed to physically stress test the very structural integrity of reality. Think of methodic doubt as an epistemic bulldozer. Its purpose is to strip away layers of weak, probabilistic assumptions until it strikes unshakable bedrock. If a belief can logically be doubted, it is excavated and discarded. The first major application of this machinery is the always dreaming doubt. Human cognition contains a severe limitation. Our minds only have access to the productive result of an experience. We never possess direct access to the productive process that generated it. Because we cannot observe the hidden machinery generating our sensory data, normal waking life and a vivid dream state are indistinguishable from the first-person perspective. Since waking and dreaming cannot be reliably differentiated, the external physical world cannot serve as a foundation for perfect knowledge. The Cartesian assumption that a true physical universe exists outside perception is known as metaphysical realism. It is the view that the world consists of a fixed totality of mind-independent objects. But when we apply the always dreaming doubt to the concept of metaphysical realism, a terrifying philosophical consequence suddenly emerges. If truth is independent of our minds, then global skepticism, the scenario where all of our beliefs about the world are comprehensively false, becomes theoretically possible. Modern philosophy visualizes global skepticism through a specific biomedical thought experiment, the brain in a vat. The technical parameters are absolute. All sensory inputs, every sight, every sound, and physical sensation are simulated by artificial intelligence feeding electronic impulses directly into the cortex. Biological reality is bypassed. Can an envatted brain ever prove it is invatted? In the late 20th century, philosophers like Hilary Putnam shifted the focus to answer this. They moved the debate away from the mechanics of how we know and reconstructed it around the mechanics of how our words generate meaning. The brain in a vat scenario tests whether our language accurately maps to a mind-independent reality, or if our words simply referred to the closed loop of our own internal simulations. Putnam's semantic refutation relies on the causal constraint. A term only refers to an object if a causal physical link exists. If severed, it becomes a pseudo-reference. Applied here, the invatted brain has zero causal contact with actual physical timber. This creates a distinction in the brain's language, which we'll call vatese. When the brain in a vat utters tree, the term refers to a simulated electronic sense impression. It cannot refer to a physical entity. We can now apply this profound semantic limitation to the brain as it attempts to articulate its own terrifying existential predicament. This logical flowchart executes the disquotational proof. Step 1 analyzes the statement, "I am a brain in a vat." Because the entity has never interacted with a real physical brain or vat, its terms pseudo-refer, mapping to an empty set. Because the terms fail to map to a mind-independent reality, the statement, "I am a brain in a vat," is demonstrably false when spoken by an actual brain in a vat. Under semantic externalism, global skepticism is impossible to articulate. The structural laws make the claims semantically self-refuting. Putnam's semantic victory relies on the premise that our cognitive hardware is structurally flawless. Descartes anticipated this intellectual complacency, introducing the evil demon hypothesis. The evil demon is a malicious entity capable of altering our baseline cognitive nature. It has the power to manipulate our intuition at its source. This diagram models our vulnerabilities. The inner circle is object-level doubt, questioning external data. The outer boundary is metacognitive doubt, questioning the intellectual faculty itself. The evil demon attacks this outer ring. It doesn't alter logical rules. It corrupts the mind's ability to apprehend them. This creates a disconnect in our cognitive life. We experience absolute certainty regarding a logical proof only in the specific moment we are directly attending to it. The moment our attention shifts, that certainty evaporates. The persistent possibility of a defective cognitive nature invalidates even our clearest, most distinct intellectual perceptions. We are left in a standoff between Putnam's semantic externalism and Descartes' metacognitive doubt. Outwardly, semantics provides a structural shield. The rigid laws governing human language prevent us from meaningfully articulating a globally false reality. But inwardly, the Cartesian trap remains closed. No matter how flawless the language evaluates on paper, we can never audit the structural integrity of our own intellectual faculties. We have the rigid outward projection of semantic logic, paired with the vulnerable subjective isolation of the human mind. Truth, how accurately our language maps to the external reality, and certainty, our internal psychological conviction, are permanently divorced. We may occasionally possess true statements about reality, but humanity is ultimately left with shifting, changeable opinions, trapped within the architecture of our own language.